Hi, this is Angela with My Humble Hook, and today I'd like to show you how to make this cute little Santa's mini Christmas stocking. It's the perfect size for gift cards, little cash on the Christmas tree, or even your play setting at the kids' table, or even the kids at heart. What you'll need when making this cute little Christmas stocking is one skein of Caron Simply Soft Party. I like to use the red sparkle. And Caron Soft is a preference of mine because it is a thinner yarn and I just like the way it drapes. Happen to be a tight crocheter, so it does make a difference for me. I also like to use the Snow Sparkle for the top of the stocking. And of course a hook. The gauge calls for an I hook, which is 5.5 millimeters. I'm going to be using this J hook, which is 5 3/4 millimeter. Again, it accommodates my tight crocheting and gives me the drape I'm looking for. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start with the red. We're going to start with a slip knot and we're going to chain 11. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then we're going to single crochet in the second chain from the hook, 1, 2, and we're going to go all the way to the end. That's going to be a total of 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we are going to go ahead and single crochet 6 in this final chain. It's going to open up as we go, which is okay because we'll be able to pull it tight as well. When we're finished, I mean. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we'll go ahead and pull that tight. And now we're going to crochet along this back side, the other side of that chain that we were starting on. And we're going to go 9 over here. And we're going to just capture that tail that we left. And that will keep us from having to weave in any ends. Yay, because that's not my favorite thing to do. I would much rather be crocheting than weaving in ends. Can I see how many people agree with me on that? So we're going to go all the way to the end on this. And we're essentially making the bottom of the stocking. So this is the foot of the sock, if you will. All right, since I've captured most of that, I'm going to get that out of my way now. And let's just get that out of the way. We'll cut it later, not necessary right now. That should be 8, I believe. 3, 6, 7, 8. We're going to go ahead and single crochet in this last little bit right here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch. We're not going to turn our work because we want to keep going up in the same circular fashion that we started. So essentially we're making like a little bird, a little bag or purse or a sock, of course, right? And then we're going to pull this slip stitch pretty tight, not so tight we can't get into this last stitch over here, but then for sure this particular stitch we want to also pull tight. The reason for that, let me show you over here, is we're going to get a seam as we're moving up. And by pulling tight, can you see the seam? It's running right along in here. If we pull tight, it minimizes the seam and actually blends the single crochet in with everything else. And so you get a good seamless look. So now on round 2, what we want to do is we want to single crochet 24 times coming back to where we started. So go ahead and let's meet at 24. Thinking back to when I learned how to crochet, I think I was about 8 years old, and third grade for sure. My grandmother, my dad's mom and dad were visiting from Greece with us for a year when my baby brother was born. And I just would sit and watch her fascinated, just fascinated with how she could make things with yarn and a little stick with a hook at the end of it. And I can't tell you how many times I begged her to teach me because I wanted to do that same magic. And she gave me some crochet thread, which is about the equivalent of sewing thread if you're an 8-year-old child, and a little teeny tiny hook. And she told me she would teach me more after I made a chain the length of from my fingertip to my elbow. I'll be honest, at 8 you're not too fascinated with something like that, and it took me a couple years before I could get it that long. And on a subsequent trip to Greece to visit her, she showed me more when I brought her my chain. So now we're in that 24th. We've done our 24. I'm sorry, no, we're doing our 24th. Right there. That last one is always a little difficult. It's that tight little slip. So here we're gonna, there's our chain 1. It's so tiny. Can you see that tiny little V right there? We're gonna go ahead and slip into this chain, which is our first chain, our first single crochet of the previous row. We're gonna slip, pull a little snugly, and then chain 1 and pull that tight. So on round 3, we're gonna single crochet 11, and then we're gonna start increasing to make the toe come bigger. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see how it's starting to want to curl on itself? Just go ahead and turn it the opposite way, because we want the outside to be the right side to be the outside. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So now we get to the point of the toe. We're going to increase. So 2 single crochet in that point, and then we're going to do 11 on the opposite side. 2, 3, 4. I'm sorry, that is not true. We're going to do 2 increases. We did our 11, 1 increase, 13, 2 increase, 15. Now 11. We want a total of 26 stitches coming around. Might have to clear up that portion of the pattern if that becomes a difficult part. It's pretty sad if I can't read my own instructions, right? Last one, and then we're going to slip and chain 1. So now we have kind of like a canoe, as someone said, like a little boat for Santa and his elves, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to single crochet 10 going into round 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now we're going to decrease 3 times. So in order to decrease, we're going to do, I like to do what's called an invisible decrease. It's great when you're making stuffed animals, but this is also a great way to kind of eliminate the gaps. So rather than go into under the V like you normally would, I'm just going to go under that front loop only, and I'm going to go do that again. So I'm going to pick up 2 stitches, bring up a loop, and then complete the single crochet decrease. So we're going to do that 3 times total. So 1, and then 2, front loops only, pulling through, and then there. We're going to do it one more time. Let's see if I can bring it a little closer. 1, 2, and then 3. Okay, so now that we've done our decreases, we're going to go chain single crochet 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. I have miscounted a little bit. I think that's what happens when I'm talking and walking at the same time, so to speak. Hold tight. And chain 1. So now going up to row 5, we're going to single crochet 9. And then we're going to do some more decreases. 9, and now we're going to decrease 3 again. 1. Good way to know if you're in the right spot is that middle decrease should be right at the toe, which it is right there. 2. 3. And if you miss a stitch somewhere along the way, it really is okay. At this point, I probably wouldn't go back and redo anything. I would just keep going on because a missed stitch is probably not going to be noticed by your family and merrymakers on Christmas morning, right? Or Christmas evening, especially after all the eggnog has been consumed. So now we do 8. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to pop an extra one in there. I feel like I'm missing one. And there we go, slip. And pull. And as you can see, our seam right here as we've been coming up, it's darn near invisible, which is pretty nice. So now we're going to go up to row 6. We're going to single crochet 8, decrease 2 this time, and then we're going to go another 8 around. Anyway, back to my story. When I visited my grandmother again when I was 10 and I brought her my long chain, I think she showed me double crochet and single crochet, and she told me if I could learn those 2 things, I could do anything. And I believed her, and she was right. 3, 6, 7, 8. Now we're going to go 2 decreases. Recently on a trip to visit my aunts, unfortunately my grandmother's long since passed, but her daughters are still alive, and of course she taught all of us, right? I'm still learning from them, and it's just awesome to me that I'm able to teach them a little something too. Doesn't matter in age or background or anything really. We all have something to learn from each other when it comes to our craft, and it's a beautiful thing that brings us all together. And I'm going to finish this up too. And pretty straightforward, and you can see the toes getting tinier, coming up into the toe shape you want. So eventually, as we get around, we have one more row, our 7th row, to complete the foot of the stocking, if you will, and then we'll just go up the leg. So we're going to single crochet 8. 7, 8, decrease 1 time and then 8 around. That'll give us 17 single crochets in the 7 rows that we have. And then we're just going to single crochet 17. Just got a nice little low power warning on my phone, so I'll do what I can to finish this portion of the stocking up before it completely loses battery power. So we've come around, we have 17 stitches. We have the foot of our stocking complete. It doesn't have a whole lot of shape to it yet, but it definitely will get there. Let me pull that out a little bit. So this is the point where I kind of like to pop this open, pull it kind of snug, make sure that my toe doesn't have a hole in it. That looks pretty good to me. You can leave it. I like to snip just a little bit. I've pulled it kind of taut, so I'll snip it, leaving just a tiny bit. And then you can stretch it out and it'll just kind of tuck into where it belongs. And so now you have a nice secure end in there. All right, so the next few rows, rows 8 through 13, you're just going to continue along, single crochet around, doing the same technique of slipping stitch and chaining 1. Kind of go a little tight to minimize your seam. And then when you get to the top, I'll put another video together to show you how to do the hook, what technique I use to make that hook right there. And so we'll do the hook and the lace. Thank you. I hope this was helpful.